think it would be a mistake, certainly a mistake, to think of the Codex as a Christian invention. We have both textual references to codices being used for literary texts prior to the Christian usage, and a few examples of non-Christian and early enough to be probably pre-Christian examples of the use of codexes as well. The Roman epigrammist Martial refers to small codices, sort of handy hand size, he calls them codices, which in which a literary text such as his poems or his epigrams could be read and used. And we have a few examples actually of codexes. They were also used, however, more frequently prior to Christianity for things like reference works, like particularly for things like astronomical tables, mathematical tables, medical recipes, things like that. So it isn't that they invent the basic technology of codex. What they do is appropriate it as their preferred book form for their most highly prized texts. The codex is used by pre-Christian and non-Christians, but on a much smaller scale, is used only for sort of everyday, as I say, sort of sub-literary text by and large, astronomical tables, things like that. So they're sort of like, workaday things. Martial refers to a certain experimentation in the use of small portable codices, which are done specifically to take with you on a journey. So it's a limited experiment which never seems to have caught on. Early Christians, however, take the basic codex technology and run with it from our earliest evidence as their preferred book form. And as they say, interestingly enough, they use it not for the workaday text, but for the text that they most highly regard, copies of Old Testament texts and the writings that form part of the emergent New Testament are the ones that are most consistently written as codexes. Well, the nomina sacra don't have particularly a lot of relevance for what has traditionally been understood as text critical issues. That is, it isn't a matter of, do they say anything about the comparative stability or instability or whatever of the copying of the text of the New Testament. They rather, most of us think, I mean, it is disputed, but most of us who've looked at the issue think that the nomina sacra are a Christian invention, are a Christian innovation, scribal innovation. And particularly the words that are the most frequently treated and most consistently treated as nomina sacra are the Greek words for God, Jesus, Lord, and Christ. What they show us, we think, is that they write the words in this special way, sort of abbreviated and with the horizontal stroke over them, to set them off visually in the text, so that when you look at a copy of biblical writing or something, you can spot the nomina sacra immediately by the fact that they have this overline, and when you look more closely, you realize that it's not the word written out full, it's written in abbreviated form. So it has this distinctive visual property. There's no indication that it had any effect on the way the words were read. As far as we know, when people read these texts out in church or whatever, they pronounced them as normal. So it's purely visual, and it seems to most of us that it's an expression of visual piety. So it means that the words that are treated this way are written with a certain reverential kind of purpose, by and large, because of the reference in question, God, Jesus. Other words come to be included as well, like the word for son, particularly when it's referring to Jesus, as in Son of God or Son of Man. Even the word anthropos, man, is written as a nomen sacrum, we think originally because of expressions where anthropos refers to Jesus, the man, from heaven or whatever. Other words get included as well, David, Jerusalem. All of these seem to be chosen because they figure prominently in the kind of religious vocabulary of early Christians. They're expressive in some sense of the vocabulary of early Christian faith. What we call often the staurogram is a kind of monogram-like device. The Greek capital letters tau, which looks like sort of like a capital T, and the Greek letter rho, the capital letter rho, which looks sort of like the capital letter P. Now, that is one of several monogram-like devices that are often referred to as Christograms, the most well-known of them being the chi-rho, which many people will have seen on liturgical vestments, on furniture, on all kinds of things. I mean, in the ancient world, we have them on lamps, on silverware, on all kinds of things, just to mark them as, I'm a Christian, so I have a chi-rho. The chi-rho is the first two letters of the word Christos, chi and rho. You have other examples as well. The Yoda chi, which is a kind of a Yoda superimposed on a chi, which looks often like kind of a six-pointed star. But in early Christian usage, it's the Yoda chi, which is the initial letters of the word Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ. The Tauro is one of those Christograms. The difference is that the other Christograms, when we first meet them, sometime in the late 3rd or into the 4th century, they emerge, it appears, as sort of freestanding emblems of Christian faith. They're just, you put it on a gravestone or you put it on some other kind of implement to mark it. The earliest instances of the Tauro that we have, however, which by the way seem to be earlier than the other Christograms, the Tauro used earlier than the other Christograms, and the early instances of the Tauro that we have are in manuscripts, where it is part of the nomina sacra treatment, or the sort of special abbreviated treatment of the Greek words stavros or stavroo. Stavros meaning cross, and stavroo meaning to crucify. And there are instances of that in early manuscripts. New Testament scholars will know them as P75, P66, P45, all of which are certainly, it would appear, most of us think early to mid 3rd century or so. And the Tauro is used as part of the sort of abbreviated special nomina sacra writing of words for cross or crucify in sentences in the Gospels or wherever, where it's referring to the crucifixion of Jesus, either directly or indirectly. Now, the significance is that the Tauro, used as part of the word for cross and crucify, looks like, to many of us, a kind of pictographic representation of a crucified figure. The loop of the rho looking like a kind of pictographic representation of the head of a figure hanging on a tau-shaped cross. And the fact that it forms part of the words for cross and crucify in sentences referring to the crucifixion of Jesus confirms that for most of us, that it is a visual reference to the crucifixion of Jesus. The letters tau and rho don't correspond to any names of Jesus, any titles of Jesus. The chi-rho does, the Yoda chi does, the Yoda eta staurogram does, but the Tauro doesn't. Its sole function, the sole derivation in Christian usage seems to be that these happen to be letters that occur in the words cross and crucify, and when written that way, it shifts them from simply being letters into some kind of visual device, it seems. And consequently, because of that, this particular Christogram is referred to as the staurogram, because it seems to be not simply a reference to Jesus, but more particularly a reference to the crucifixion of Jesus. Well, the increasing availability both of digital forms, of digital photographs of manuscripts, and making them available online means that you can access them from anywhere in the world. Just to give you an illustration, I did my PhD in textual criticism and studying a particular manuscript, the Washington manuscript of the Gospels. I was able to go to Washington from Cleveland, where I was studying, make a visit, actually look at it, and so on. And you had the old photographic facsimiles that were published in 1912, I think, to the level of highest quality photographic standards of the time. But looking at the manuscript and having a chance to look at it in person was a great improvement, because the photographs didn't do what you needed to know about physical properties of the manuscript. But with today's high quality digital photography and the ability to kind of magnify the image and consult it online, after I did my PhD, I moved to Canada to do academic work, and I was initially in Vancouver and then in Winnipeg. And in neither place did I have access to ready access to good photographic facsimiles or to the manuscripts themselves. So I really took up other interests for nearly 20 years. I've only been able to return to being able to do the kind of original stuff that I wanted to do on manuscripts since moving to the UK, where I have a little more geographical access to things in Dublin and elsewhere. But with the appearance of digital photography and making them available online, it means that, you know, were I still living in Winnipeg, I could still do really high quality manuscript work if I could get access to them over the internet. So it's a fantastic thing. So it enables, you could say, it democratizes scholarly opportunities to do high quality manuscript work. And since manuscripts are scattered all over the globe, as more and more institutions digitize and make this stuff available, it means that you're not prisoner of your physical location anymore.